everyone. A very warm welcome to this workshop, EURASTiP workshop on innovative teaching. I'm very happy to see all of you here, coming from all parts of the world actually. You probably don't know, but we're a relatively small group, but we're 15, at least 15 countries represented here, and I think even more nationalities. So it's really an international workshop, and we're going to work on matters that are important to all of us. So I'm very happy to see you. Thank you for being here. So my name is Marieke Reuver. I'm from Aqua TT in Ireland, and I'm responsible for the training and education and capacity building aspects within the EURASTiP project, within which framework this workshop is held. So I'd just like to very briefly explain to you a little bit about this, this work. So the objective is to consolidate existing collaborations between Europe and Southeast Asia in the field of aquaculture education. And we also want to enhance the collaboration through support of different activities, such as, for example, workshops like this, exchanges and new material development. So just to very briefly give you an overview of the main activities, because I think all of you might be interested in the activities that we're doing besides this workshop. So the first activity is that we're organizing a few of these kind of workshops. This is actually the very first one in a series of 3. We will have the next one we will organize next year, and it will be, of course, also on education, but it will be on the mobility. And then the third one that we will organize will be on taking into account the input from all stakeholders into education, because it's, of course, it's important that education is fit for purpose. So we also need to look at what our industry needs, for example. So that's what we're also going to discuss. We're also implementing an educator exchange program, and I'm very pleased to say that yesterday here at this event, at the IFS event, we actually launched this program. I don't have time now to go into all the details, but if you want to know more, you can just approach me and we can chat about it. And then we'll also develop innovative material based on outcomes from the EURASTiP project, but also based on other aquaculture-related projects. So the aim of the workshop is that we want to bring parties together from both Europe and Southeast Asia, and we succeeded in that, I think. And the idea is that we are going to discuss trends, opportunities, and areas for strategic cooperation in the area of innovative teaching in the aquaculture sector. So that's the main aim of what we're going to do today. So just to give you a very brief overview of the program of today, I also distributed it at the table, so you should all have your own copy. So after this, I will ask you to briefly introduce yourself. I'll give a little bit more details in a minute. After that, we'll have a few presentations. David Bassett will explain you a little bit more about the EURASTiP projects. Sandra Sanaitan from UMT in Malaysia will talk about innovative teaching philosophies. We will have an icebreaker session, 1 word it's called, and I'll explain to you what it's about when we get there. Then after coffee, Sarah will teach us about spots. So that will be a very practical, interactive exercise that you can all benefit from. So I would really encourage you to actively take part in this. After lunch, we will have a live demonstration from Turkey. Someone will explain to us what they do in relation to innovative teaching and really show in real time what it's about. In the afternoon, we will work in the groups that you are now, and we will deal with 3 different topics that you all discuss. And then after the working groups, the results will be presented in plenary, and then we'll have an open discussion, and I will ask for some feedback at the very end. So are there any questions on the program at this moment? No? So then I'll go back to the roundtable introductions. So what I'll ask you now is each one of you, just to get to know each other a little bit better, just to very briefly, because we don't have that much time, I would say 2 minutes max, just to state your name, your affiliation, why you would like to attend this event. And when you were registering, all of you should have gotten like a little jigsaw puzzle, and we asked you to complete like one skill or one experience that you think you can contribute to the group. And the idea is that, you know, we'll show that we all contribute as a whole to this topic. It's a kind of fun icebreaker exercise. So I will start with table 1, maybe. Maybe David, you would like to start introducing yourself, and then we can just go around. Oh yeah, and please use the microphone, because as you see, we are being live streamed and recorded today, and it's important that people hear you. So please use the microphones.
Is it working? Good morning, everyone. My name is David Bassett. I'm the project manager of EURASTiP, so you'll hear from me later on. My reason for being here is employment, and I very much look forward to explaining a bit more of the context of the project.
Thank you. Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Kartik Berua. I am working as an associate senior lecturer in Swedish University of Sciences. The reason why I'm here is to import, because Swedish Agriculture University has been actively involved in providing information, so I'm here to find students first of all, and also to collaborate and see how education can change education in terms of research and teaching. So thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lim Deong. I'm from University Malaysia Sabah. From Malaysia, and I currently work with under Borneo Marine Research Institute as a senior lecturer, and also I'm also appointed as the head of aquaculture program for the undergraduates. So my reason here is to looking for the potential collaborators either in academics or research, and especially in this international forum. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Julia Ekasari. I'm from Bogor Agricultural University from the Department of Aquaculture. My aim to be here is actually, I'm looking forward collaboration with especially EU and other Asian universities. And also, hopefully I can also contribute something in innovative academic things. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Niro. I'm from Cambodia, from Fishery Department of Eastern Train Province. So great to be here. I'm here to absorb the knowledge and experience from all of you. Thank you. But I have a short experience one would like to share to all of you. Before yesterday, I lost my computer at Singapore airport. So Singapore airport is a world standard airport, but the people in the airport is not standard. So be careful with everything by yourself. So just for sharing, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sandra from, I'm a senior lecturer at the School of Fisheries and Aquaculture Sciences, University Malaysia Terengganu, Malaysia. And I'm here today to learn more about innovative teaching which is done by others, and as well for academic collaboration. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Sara Barrento. I'm a lecturer at Swansea University in the UK, and I do research in sustainable aquaculture and also science communication and pedagogy. And I'm here to, of course, also seek collaboration and hopefully also be able to contribute to this workshop and to the future activities that EURASTiP is providing. Thank you.
Good morning. It's Chutima Tantikiti from Prince of Songkhla University, and I'm wearing few hats here, and My own expertise is the aquaculture nutritionist. I'm working for both like fish and shrimp nutrition, and in the Department of Aquatic Science, Prince of Songkran University, and I'm also the Associate Dean for International Relations and Graduate Studies, and also the Director of the Discipline of Excellence in Sustainable Aquaculture, and also the Erasmus Coordinator for the university. So I'm here to learn and to also, I'm seeking for the collaboration with all of you, including like Asian and European partners. At the moment, I'm having few Erasmus Plus and Erasmus Mundus at hand. So I think maybe I can learn more, and actually I'm looking at Horizon 2020 before I came here, without knowing that I would be able to or have an opportunity to participate in this very good opportunity of the research collaboration and mobility. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Oliver Lekang. I'm Associate Professor at Norwegian University of Life Sciences. The aim with me for being here today is to learn more about innovation in teaching. I have a bit background in e-learning and the tools that is used in e-learning, lecturing several e-learning courses, and I'm also a lot of experiments working together with the industry in the lecturing hours.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Murwan Toko from Gajah Mada University in Indonesia. I was appointed as a head of Department of Fisheries. My subject mostly on fish disease. I have few experiments in mainly in viral disease, both from fish and also from the shellfish. I'm here to learn from all of you, and also I would like to extend the collaboration from my department to all of you, both in ASEAN and also from the Europe. Hopefully, I can contribute from this discussion. Thank you.
Okay, we can go to table 2. Sunny, maybe you would like to start?
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Yong Yik Sang. It's too difficult for you. Just call me Sunny. I'm currently the Deputy Dean for School of Fisheries and Aquaculture Sciences, University Malaysia Terengganu. And the reason I'm here, a long list, but the reason I'm here today is to share experience in terms of teaching, education, and also academics. Especially those innovative methods that we use in ASEAN region. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tita. I am from Diponegoro University in Indonesia. I am currently the dean, the vice dean for Research and Innovation at the Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Sciences. And my background is I'm from the Department of Aquaculture, and my expertise is in social economic of aquaculture. And my reason for here today, that I would like to share my experience in innovative teaching and also gain more information about innovative teaching that all of you have done, so that we can share and also seek collaboration with you all. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Giuseppe Palladini. I'm Italian by origin, married to a Mexican, and I live in Scotland, so quite international. And I'm a lecturer in aquatic parasitology at the University of Stirling, and the reason why I'm here is because I love teaching, and I believe teaching shouldn't be boring, but fun and interactive all the time. So I hope I learn a lot from you today.
Hello everyone, I'm Salin Krishna. I'm working at AIT, Asian Institute of Technology. I'm currently is the program chair of the Aquaculture and Aquatic Resources program. And my field of research now is mainly on aquaculture, sustainable aquaculture, and stock improvement, genetics. The reason why I'm here, well, maybe monotony. I'm really feel bored the same way I'm teaching for a long time. Maybe a lot of scope for improvement. Our primary aim as a teacher is to teach and do research or other things, but we do many other things and less focus on teaching. So that's the main focus I came here. I also work with some Erasmus Plus project, which is ending this year. So all these experiences will be greatly valuable, and I guess we can improve a lot in this workshop. Thank you very much.
My name is Mieke Eigermond. I'm from Ghent University, Belgium. I'm one of the EURASTiP. How do I tell it? I'm involved in the exchanges, but not for the educators. That's Marike. I'm doing the exchanges for researchers and industry, and I'm here to help out. And I also have experience in innovative teaching. But that's some time ago. It involved e-learning and making some kind of contests to get the students alive again and get them very motivated to work, which is, I think, one of the big goals of education.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nur Khalida Abdul Hamid from School of Biological Sciences, University of Science, Malaysia. I would say I'm the least experienced over here because I just hired by University of Science Malaysia, and my official class just this week on Monday, my second class. So pretty much like I'm the one that's going to learn more than giving more. But I do believe in interactive teaching and learning and up to all the technology and human interactions. So I'm looking forward to learn and also contribute if I have some experience to share. Thank you.
Sawadika. Good morning, everyone. My name is Prida Phumi from Science and Fishery Technology, Ratchamangkhon University Technology, Sriwijaya from Thailand. I am a lecturer in aquaculture. My subject is almost in fish nutrition, and my research is in the same field with my subjects. I come here, I hope that I can gain some knowledge and collaboration from you all, and then I can take this knowledge to improve my school. Okay, thank you.
Hello everybody, good morning. My name is Anna. I'm actually not a lecturer. I don't even work in a university. I work in a research institute. I do receive lots of students from the age 18 until PhD students, so I have a lot of experience with students from different countries, but doing more hands-on work rather than formal teaching. My interest to being here is like Giuseppe. I do believe a lot in education and in learning, so I'm hoping to learn quite a lot here and to improve myself a lot. I'm also hoping that I can establish collaborations and receive students from different centers with whom I don't collaborate right now. And my thematic field of expertise is animal health and public health, both associated to aquaculture.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Johan Verret, and I'm Professor of Aquaculture and Fisheries at Wageningen University. The reason why I'm here is threefold. I'm one of the core members of the EURASTiP program, and a work package leader of another work package than this one. The second reason is that, of course, I also believe in education, as many of you are doing, and we have a lot of international students, and we try to outreach to these international students also through online courses. But the third reason is that my own university is in transition. They try to include education or teaching is a matter of knowledge transfer, and it's not only between professors and university students. A university has also a societal role, so it goes also in outreach programs to the society. And there are different systems and ways to do so. This is a sort of an educational ecosystem that Wageningen is trying to build, in which all these innovative methods find a place. This group here?
Yeah, table 3, please. Yeah.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Sukri from Thailand. Actually, my background is marine ecologist, and but I have something relevant to aquaculture. I own a small farm for 30 years, small fish farming, and also running a community fish processing factories in one of the village in Thailand, and have a small shop for selling the seafood product. So this is something relevant to aquaculture and fisheries, and of course I'm the owner of one of the Thailand professional football team, small team, and now I'm a dean from Faculty of Science, Technology, as well as the chairperson. Today is my last day as the chairperson of ASEAN Fishery Education Network. The reason I'm here is actually first reason I involved in the EURASTiP project as the ASEAN FIN representative. But the main reason here is to explore the current and future pedagogy and methodology, as well as innovation in teaching. Because as the administrator, as a dean, we have less teaching, and for many years. So coming together and meeting you people from Southeast Asia and from Europe, I believe that I can get back this afternoon with something fresh and new in my mind. Of course, this is not directly for my usage as a lecturer only, but also to pass this to my staff and the unit staff. I think that the most important thing today is how to change teaching pedagogy. I think that we are here, many of you already apply the new methodology of teaching. This is what I want to try to collect. Now, today I will become a good student. Thank you very much.
My name is Alyssa Joyce, and I'm here with the University of Gothenburg in Sweden. And I do a lot of teaching. Unfortunately, a lot of it's not very innovative. It's a lot of lecturing with PowerPoints because I teach primarily graduate students. I'm also involved in supervision, so I'm very interested in ways that I can be more innovative, especially in attracting students. My group is growing quite quickly, and I'm interested in attracting students from Asian countries, and so I'd like to make some networks while I'm here. And Kartik is my colleague formerly at Ghent, also in Sweden, and we are looking at also developing some funding proposals related to Asian countries. So please come talk to us.
Thank you. My name is Patrick Sorgelos. Although I'm retired from Ghent University, I still try to be active, maybe less in Ghent than more at other universities around the world, where we have a lot of our former graduates. Just like what Johan was mentioning, I think Sterling, Wageningen and Ghent are 3 universities that have been very much involved in postgraduate training at the MSc and the PhD level, with lots of graduates in this room from these 3 universities and others. Over the years, we started our MSc program in '91, and the first 5 or 6 years, Johan can fill in, it was a joint program with Wageningen, where I considered that already very innovative, that we were able to move our students for 1 semester to Wageningen, and vice versa, the students from Wageningen coming from 1 semester. So over the years we have tried to look into how can we improve, how can we apply innovative teaching, more involvement of the students, more interaction between the lecturer and the student, and not only within the same university, but also among the universities. And as Ivar was mentioning, the AquaTNet project for a period of 10 years, or maybe even more.
14 years.
14 years. Yeah. I hope we will have an opportunity to hear today on, let's say, the progress that we have made in European universities in trying to adopt new methods. But I'm the first one to say, day after day, we still learn, we still can see how we can think about new techniques, new methods to have that interaction with the students. So you are never too old to learn. So I'm here also to pick up a number of new ideas. Thank you.
Good morning. It's a pleasure and honor to be present. My name is Fernando Afonso. I'm professor at the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine at the University of Lisbon. I teach pathology and I teach aquaculture. I'm also one of the responsibles of the International Office, Mobility. I have several passions in life. Two of them are aquaculture, water, aquatic animals. It has always been like that, and education. I'm here to learn. A teacher does not only teach, but also learns all his life. So I'm here to share my experience, my knowledge, but mainly to learn from you all. So thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Warapon Talangkun. I'm a lecturer from the Rajamankala University of Sriwijaya, Thailand. I'm teaching about plankton and doing the research about plankton. And I'm here to learn from all of you about the teaching technique and seek to the collaboration. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Wiyoto. I am from Indonesia, from vocational school, Bogor Agriculture University. I am teaching in brackish and marine culture. I'm here because I need to learn more about the technique to teach the student, especially for vocational student. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Fazliana Mohta, and I am the lecturer at the School of Fisheries and Aquaculture Sciences, University Malaysia Terengganu. So my specialization is in fish biochemistry and processing. So I'm here today to learn as much as I can on the innovative teaching skills in a diverse environment, seeking for potential collaborators and creating networks from all around the world. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Kamaru Zaman from School of Biological Sciences, University of Science Malaysia. My background, I am a marine microbiologist. So I do research a lot on bacterial fish disease as well as effective microbe in aquaculture. So I came here today to learn and to get experience and to understand more about effective teaching, and as well to looking forward for collaboration in academics and research. Thank you.
Well, I am the last, I guess. Good morning, everybody. I am Desrina. I am from Aquaculture Department from Diponegoro University. That's in Central Java, about 500 kilometers from here. The city is Semarang, near the coast. My educational background is in fish disease, so I see some of my colleagues is here, and I'm teaching fish disease and fish health related courses, and one of the most difficult course is teaching fish histology, and because students think is most students complain because fish histology is the most boring course. So I'm hoping by coming here I can learn more about the innovative teaching, and I can also, building the network with my colleagues from different countries and seeking the collaboration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We have a very interesting and diverse group here. Is the microphone working, by the way? Yeah. We have some time left. If it's all right, I think everyone got like a little jigsaw puzzle when they were registering, and we asked you to write down like one skill or experience that you think you can contribute to the group, like today to the workshop. And the idea is this is like a kind of fun icebreaker exercise, just like for us as a group to break the ice a little bit. But this is also, I implemented a few of these icebreaker sessions today because this is one of the tools that you can also use in your lessons. So it's actually twofold. So I don't know if all of you have done this, but if you can just like, I'll just go around very quickly, and it's just like one skill or one experience that you think you can contribute to this subject, to this topic, just to see that, you know, everyone has something to contribute to this. So can I start? Maybe I start with table 3 this time. Desrina, do you have one?
Thank you. I do, but I don't know if it can be called a skill. Because usually when I'm teaching, I mix between lecturing and a small group discussion with students. So I divide the student with in groups, small groups, to 3 or 4 students per group, and make a small group discussion. And later on, they will present what they're doing. The result of their discussion in poster, and make it like a scientific presentation with snacks and everything. That's what I did.
Thank you. I think we can just go around the table.
My skill, I'm not sure. Could be blended learning, I guess. And another one, my experience, I use online like Kahoot or puzzles, what to introduce the students, and they will give more attention to my class instead of playing smartphone.
Probably I'll be having the same approach as they have. We have online quizzes like puzzles at the same time, and sometimes like we get cooperation between the industry and the university students themselves, like in a forum, so that they can share their experience and etc. instead of having class lectures in the lecture hall. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm teaching in marine culture. Maybe this is my experience in for especially we are going to the field, to the farm with the student, and we playing or study in the field to marine station or to shrimp farm and something like that. Thank you.
Okay, I teach like a traditional way, give a lecture and teach in the laboratory time. We teach the skill in the laboratory and take the take the student to the field and sample like that. Thank you.
So I wrote fish farming tours. You are all very much welcome to come. For those that cannot, it could be virtual reality. So fish farming tours, real or virtual reality. Thank you very much.
I want to bring up a particular one-week course that we developed over the years in our MSc program. And it's a pity we were trying to have Denis Lacroix here. The feedback that we got from the students, and in fact there are 1 or 2 here in the room who could confirm or deny, but he is organizing towards the end of the MSc program a full week with the students to develop an aquaculture plan for a particular island, for a particular region. He is coordinating that exercise, but it is 1 week long that the students in group are developing a business plan or looking into legal aspects or looking into biological aspects. And I can tell you that when I meet with the students, even 5 or 10 years after they have finished, this is the course that they recall. And that's, I think, an example of real interactive. There is more activity by the students than, in fact, by the teacher. The teacher is like the conductor of the group. Thank you.
A couple of the things that I was going to mention have already been said, which is I love organizing field trips to fish aquaculture sites and so on. One of the skills that I hope I bring is that I supervise quite a lot of internship and master's and PhD level students. And supervision is not directly teaching the way we think of lecturing, but it is a skill. And it's a skill that really requires quite a bit, especially if you're taking people out and doing industry projects with partners in industry. It takes a lot of leadership to sort of get students who may or may not know much about what they're doing when they start to not only engage with what they're interested in learning, but also bring benefit to the industry partner who've agreed to post them. So one of the things that's very important to me as an educator is guiding students through, and I hope I can learn more about how to do that well, because as a younger supervisor, I don't have many years of experience with that. So it's an area of interest and improvement. So, thank you.
Okay, myself as travelers, traveling a lot, so sometimes we have to leave the class many times, not sometimes. Even these 2 weeks, I couldn't make the class. But I have my assistant. This is my classroom, working with students. So I can communicate with students the whole period, because we sit at a group. But in Thailand, we use Line application. So with this Line application, students can submit their report or their work. They can live when they work in the field. Because normally, if I am in the class, try to have no less lecture, of course, like what you are doing. So more discussion. So my class, the design of class is the classroom style is more like the round table meeting. Unfortunately, my class is quite small, about 15 students. It's easy to manage. And we are lucky because behind the building, the classroom is mangrove, is the sea. So field trip is there. So we just give students the question, research based, whatever based. They just go and explore. For instance, we want to work on crab, the mangrove crab, for instance. We just give them some question, and they go with the design their own. We guide, we set the objective, they design their own. And when I travel, I have to follow from this. So this is I think that helped me a lot with the class. Thank you.
Let's go to table 2. I see you're very enthusiastic. The idea was that you can just say like one skill or one experience, and that we go quite quickly, because the examples will actually be dealt with in the interactive working groups this afternoon. So we will go into more detail. So you can. The idea is to show your little jigsaw puzzle and say whatever is on it.
Okay. If I have to mention a skill, I think during my career it's that I learned to swap my role as a lecturer, which is instructor, to be a tutor, and then later on I swapped it further on to be a coach, where I try to coach groups of students in their individual learning path.
Well, I'm just going to give one skill I think I am quite familiar with, is communication with elegance. The way I think David has it too, is to be able to communicate well, and that requires structuring of sentences, simple sentences that we can give it to our students. And of course you must be able to master several languages and dialects in a way that you can communicate with different type of students, different type of race. And this is particularly very important in Malaysia, because Malaysia is a multiracial country. So with the Chinese, with the Malay, and so on. I think this is part of communication skill. Is part. It's a very major part in education, I think. Thank you.
In the way that I teach in my university, it's mostly the same. So few minutes of PowerPoints, and then I divide them into groups, ask them to do something and discuss, and then presentation, and also field visit. And I just want to give a little example of one of the elective subjects that I'm teaching is aquaculture business, and a lot of students love that. And what I try to do is to give them assignments and try to get more innovation in marketing. So we have a hatchery for catfish, and then we collaborate with other lecturers who is actually involved in the hatchery and ask the students to sell it for him. And after that, they will give presentation from each groups, and then which of the groups have the most innovative teaching, and then we share and also discuss which method works well and sell most. So that's one of the things that I do in my teaching. Thank you.
Thank you. I try to track back, what makes a student engaged and involved, and the only thing I could come up with is passion. I think that's the best skill you can develop during classes. If you're not passionate about what you're teaching, no matter the topic, I mean, why would the student would bother to pay attention to you? So that's one thing I think is really, really important, more than knowledge. What I do generally is just I print all the pictures of the students and then try to learn all their names before going to class and address every single question with the names of the students. I understand if you have a big class, that could be a bit difficult, but it's a good start also to see that you know them and they will pay more attention to you.
Yeah, from passion, I go to patience. I think that's the one important skill that I managed to acquire in AIT, because in AIT, as Dr. Sunny said, we have a lot of international students, and in one particular class, maybe 10 to 15 students, they'll be from 6 to 9 countries most of the time. So you have to deal with different learning skills, and you have to pace your lecture in that way. So in the initial years, it was frustrating though, because I got some nasty student evaluations. So I could realize this is going to be bad for me. So the great skill I realized was patience for a teacher, apart from all the essential skills that you all talked about. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the examples of innovative teaching that I experienced was we developed a contest for the students to get them, instead of writing a boring report, one of their assignments, we asked them to make a video report that had several topics, one regarding a little bit part of research, a little bit part of a field trip, and so on and so on, that we combine it into a small video, and then the group that had the best video then got the prize, and the prize was could, for example, be once a year, once every several years we organize Larvi, could be a free participation in this conference, or doesn't matter. They go ahead when they're brought against each other in groups. It's just another way of dealing, and they get very much enthusiastic, and it breaks the normal classes.
I'm teaching biostatistics, which is very intimidated subject for all new student undergrad. So my approach for the first 2 classes is quite random. I pick random student, so I engage them in the lecture so that they pay attention, and I give more attention on concept rather than calculation. So the idea is so that they feel comfortable with the subject. And from the 2 classes, it seems like they get more relaxed and gain more understanding from the subject.
Okay, for me, I'm teaching in feed nutrition. In this subject, almost have theory and laboratory. So for me, the first time in the class, I have agreement with the student, what you want, and then what I can support them. So, like the theory that have lecture is normal, but for the laboratories, I almost ask them, and then luckily in our school, I have a fish pond and we can culture freshwater fish and marine fish. So depend on them if they want. But everything we have the agreement at the beginning. And then, like last semester, I asked them to culture the fish for around 2 months, and then collect the data. It's like learning, working integrated with learning, something like that, but in a short time. So they feel happy to do that. Because our students not happy in the class. If go outside, almost they are happy. So this is the method that I use in our subjects, in my subjects.
Well, I've always been a terribly bored student. I've always had terribly, really bad marks, and I really did not like going to school. So, because I was always so bored, and I know everybody spends many hours there, I try to cater for my students in a way. I say, okay, what do you like? What would you like to do? And then try to adapt whatever they want to come to do, without letting them just run loose. Try to see, well, if the student feels more comfortable doing certain activities or is more curious about this or that, I really try to cater for them, keeping them in line. Of course, I have my objectives and my projects. I can't just let everybody run loose, but I really try to cater for them, and I get quite a very positive feedback from my students from the ones that come just short stays like summer, or even from all the way through to supervising PhDs.
Okay, thank you. We can go to table 1. Yeah. You want? Yeah.
Great to learn from all of you. From my side, maybe far away from all of you. You are teaching a student at university. I'm teaching a farmer. So it's not easy. Most of Cambodian local farmers, around 70% of them illiteracy. How to teach them? Bring your theory, bring your document to teach them? No way. So I use, it's like a role play to teach them. For example, we teach them about carrying capacity. Show them how to do carrying capacity. Feeding, how to do feeding. Yeah, that's the approach that I done so far. So aquaculture in Cambodia is, we cannot say it's very, very far away from Indonesia, Malaysia, or Thailand as well. It's like 50 years ago of Thailand or Malaysia. So as you know, some of you know, Cambodia, most of people, they still rely on fish from the wild. We also the abundance of fish from the wild. So people, they do not interested. But right now, the nature is not, cannot supply to demand at the moment. So like right now, Cambodia is being wake up from their sleep. So very slow aquaculture, but moving. We hope that next 20 years is better. Yeah, yeah. Like teaching, I share. Cannot do like a theory to teach them. Of course, we do the on-farm training, doing with them, and role play. That's what we have done so far. Thank you.
In my classes, I think I take the role of a facilitator or a guider, and I'm really good at making the student move. So most of the time the class is very noisy and busy. I don't like them just sitting still. And recently we did a board game, okay, because I'm teaching seafood safety and learning about shellfish poisoning, so I named it Poison and Ladder. So they roll the dice in the class, and the point of the game is that they will never win, because at the last number they had to go down again, down the snake. So making the class more engaging and participating. Thank you.
Thank you. I would say that skills that I think I need to have is good communication skills, enthusiasm, and to be very versatile. I teach classrooms of 200 people. I teach tutorials of 6. I supervise 12 postgraduate students. You need to be very versatile. I teach students from different backgrounds, and I've also taught professionals, and I really appreciate the role model playing. I think it's essential. So you need to be very versatile and understand the other, the person in front of you, to be able to be, above all, and then you need to be enthusiastic. If you're enthusiastic, it's halfway through, of course. But you also need to understand the other person and their needs, what is their basic knowledge, and where do they want to go. So I would say these are the key skills, at least, that I try to develop. And communication is at all levels. Multimedia, as you mentioned with your smartphone, be very professional at it, know what they're learning, know their media. Because students these days, they're just living with the internet and all sorts of apps. So learning about new apps, communication at different levels, oral communication, and also having really well-designed resources. That goes from the handbook to a practical protocol. Well, that's it. Sorry.
It's good to be toward the end of the round, so I don't need to say much, and because everybody has said all. So for me, I'm teaching mostly for the graduate students, like master and a PhD, and so my technique is like using like case study driven techniques. So each one will have to come up with their own situation, and then they have to build up their own, solution for that. And then that is mainly, for my technique. Thank you.
I'm writing about this e-learning thing, since I'm doing that quite much. And what I learn about is the different programs that can be used, how it's functioning, what is not functioning, the tools for broadcasting, what are we using, we are different, a lot of them, and the platform for uploading materials. Earlier we used a lot of Dropbox, now many universities don't allow that, and how can we then share materials if we don't allow to use the Dropbox? And I'm also teaching a course on master level. That's where we actually do a consultancy with the students for the industry, taking consultancy for industry and let the students do it. And I give them guidelines how this do it and check it afterwards. And I think the industry like it a lot, even if it's not, we don't take paid for it, but the students learn a lot about, because that's what many of us will do when they are finished at the university.
Okay, I have a different approach for the undergraduate student with the graduate student. I'm sorry for in my condition for undergraduate student. Still have I have a lecture, so I stand in front of class. But to attack their terrace, I put my own research. So my own research, my experience, I put in this class. This is for the undergraduate student. For the graduate student, mostly I have a discussion with them, and during this discussion, I will help them to understand correctly. And for the laboratory, I will bring them to the laboratory, and I can discuss in laboratory. Thanks.
Thank you. The word I wrote down on my piece of jigsaw puzzle was the word humour. For those of you who haven't worked it out, I'm British. I was sent to a British public school. Then I went to the oldest university in Scotland, and I had a very, one might say, a very excellent, but a very dry and very rigorous education. We have another saying in Scotland, you're a long time dead. And while we're alive, we should maybe try and enjoy life. So I think it's very important to have laughter and fun and humour in our education and in all aspects of our life. Thank you.
Rightly said, David. I'm doing the same thing. Of course, what I'm doing, I'm teaching in the University of Ghent, and also supervising MSc and PhD students. But one thing what they ask me every time I interact with them, how to get a job. So what I do is that while teaching, the main thing is to motivate them. That you can do this way, you can find PhD scholarships, you can get a job like this, you can do like this. So if you motivate them, they get that too. And of course, I get that motivation from the man who is sitting next to me, of course. So this motivation can help them, to study by, self-studying. That's what I do.
Thank you. I'm the last one. So basically, all the ideas are out.
Oh, sorry. One more. Oh, yeah. Basically, I'm teaching fish biology and mainly to first-year students. So they just enter the aquaculture course, and most of them are usually confusing. So what I have to do usually, what I've done in class is try to motivate them. And usually I will explain to them first why they need to do this course. And try to explain to them the importance of aquaculture and why fish biology courses is needed. And usually to avoid long sitting in the classroom, usually I try to move the students. I will give a brief example, a simple lecture. After that, I will give them, form the students into groups and give them topics. After that, I will ask them to do a literature review, and then I will ask them group by groups to present to their friends so that they can also try to be a lecturer in front of their friends, and we learn together from this process. And after the presentation, of course, I will add up whatever that they are lost in the presentation. That's all what I did. Thank you.
Thank you. So in my case, I usually have a quite big class, about 80 students. So student involvement can be a big challenge in this class. So now I shift from, previously it's like one way, so from the lecturer to the student, but now I shift to more into as a facilitator. So sometimes I give a challenge to the students to solve a problem, usually something like more personalized, something that is familiar in their case, and using many sources as they can. Mostly I ask them to use their phone to find sources, and apparently using this kind of methods, they can get more than what I can give to them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we got a really good picture already of what everyone can contribute and their backgrounds and experiences, so thank you for that. We're now going to listen to a few talks. So first, David Bassett will explain to you a little bit more about the EURASTiP project itself. So David, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I was taught whenever it was that you should always try and end your presentation on a high note to keep people's interest in the talk. So I'm going to do something slightly odd and go to my very last slide because it's going to detract from the rest of the slide. So let me just whiz through this. And as you can see, there are no photographs in it, so you're going to be very bored. But my last slide is about reimbursement. And I want your lasting memory to be of the EURASTiP project, not the reimbursement process. So we'll just do this bit now. I'm the person to whom you have to email your reimbursement claims for those of you who are entitled to reimbursement claims. So just to run through a couple of things, you will have been emailed out a guidance note explaining to you what is eligible. You will have emailed out an Excel spreadsheet that you need to complete. It's essential that you provide full bank details. There's a box at the bottom, because if I don't have the bank details, we can't process the claim to make the payment. And it's surprising how many people don't manage to complete that bit. If there are any parts of the bank details you can't complete, for example, I'm aware in Indonesia you don't use IBAN numbers, then that's not a problem, but there are other bits of information we require. So please complete it fully. And if you don't complete it fully, then it won't be processed. So please complete it fully. And for those, I appreciate some of you in the room are here under different guidelines, but where required, then we require evidence of receipted expenditure. Please speak to me today before you go, either at the coffee break or at lunch or at the workshop if you will be submitting a claim. Just because I quite like to know as a human being who I'm dealing with rather than having 25 emails come in. It's quite nice to sort of look each other in the eye. So come and talk to me about your claims and if you have any queries about them. So that little bit done, close your eyes and we'll skip back to the start again. There we go. And I'll now give you a bit of background about EURASTiP. You obviously have some background information on the desk in the form of the leaflet, but I will try to bring it to life for you just a little bit. By way of introduction, if you thought I was short and brief at the round table, that's because I knew I had a second chance to talk to you. I'm based in the UK. I'm in Edinburgh, in Scotland. I'm following the EURASTiP project through ETIP, which is the European Aquaculture Technology and Innovation Platform. ETIP is a multi-stakeholder platform involving industry, academia, and other third parties, basically working towards the prioritization of a strategic research and innovation agenda in Europe. And ETIP is based in Belgium. My own personal background, my academic studies were nothing to do with aquaculture at all. Although I was at the University of St Andrews, so lots of people presume I must have studied marine biology there, but I was the Faculty of Arts and I studied international relations and history. So my sort of personal engagement with the EURASTiP program is actually more born out of my engagement in international relations. Sadly, my expertise is the theory and methodology of European integration, which for somebody who's in the United Kingdom, who've just voted to leave the European Union, caused me a certain degree of existential angst, but that's my own problem that I have to work through. However, for over 10 years, I've worked in aquaculture industry representation, both at a UK and EU level. Through that, I've been involved in a number of European research frameworks, FP6, FP7, and now Horizon 2020. So I was involved in the AquaTNet program. I've been involved in a number of projects with a number of the institutions here today. I've been involved in work with Swansea. I sat on the advisory committee of the Institute of Aquaculture at Stirling. So I've been engaged in a number of ways with some of the more academic interaction with aquaculture. And I've had a particular role in industry audit, certification and inspection schemes for my sins. So you're here to hear about EURASTiP, not about me. The motivation for EURASTiP was building on the success of past joint working. There's a continuing political and economic desire for greater European and Southeast Asian collaboration in the field of aquaculture. Not only a political and economic desire, there is a recognition of a continuing academic requirement for greater research and innovation activity between the two regions, and there's a continuing industry desire for greater aquaculture development, for greater business-to-business opportunities in what is an evolving and expanding market. We're all aware that the aquaculture industry and the associated activities with it is becoming increasingly global. From a European perspective, about 75% of our aquaculture product consumption is imported product, and about 65% of that is imported from Southeast Asia. So as a region, this is massively important to us, and why the European Commission is funding closer collaboration work like this. And there's also an increasingly global nature to the drivers that influence aquaculture. And here we're talking about sustainability, about food safety, about international certification, all the cross-cutting issues with which we're familiar. In terms of facts and figures in the project, it's 3 years long. It started in January of this year and finishes in December 2019. It's funded through the EU Horizon 2020 programme, as I've mentioned, and I'll mention again our gratitude to the European Commission for their generous funding of our work. And it's developed in response to a call in 2016, a specific call from the Commission on reinforcing international cooperation between our two regions. Our budget is €2 million. That doesn't make it the largest piece of funded research, but by no means is it the smallest. So a significant amount of money and commitment has been put into this work. In terms of the Southeast Asian partner countries in our project, Our experience in the EU with ETIP shows that international cooperation is best facilitated through multidisciplinary platforms. How do we actually make that real? Well, we're looking to develop 3 platforms pilot platforms in 3 countries. In Vietnam, Thailand, and Bangladesh are the specific nation states that have been selected. But that doesn't exclude in any way wider Southeast Asian engagement, as is evident because we're standing here today in Indonesia. Why those 3 countries have been picked? Well, Patrick referenced it earlier. There's a very long-term historic relationship between those 3 countries and European academic institutions going back some 40 years. They're also of particular relevance in terms of market drivers with import and export. These nations showcase a diverse and representative range of the different species and farming systems that operate across Southeast Asia: saltwater, freshwater, extensive, intensive, shellfish, finfish, across the range, and also complements the political policy drivers on the part of the Commission looking for greater collaboration with Southeast Asia. So our long-term objective is to evaluate and prepare, and I highlight there that we're evaluating and preparing, not actually creating, the launch of an international multi-stakeholder platform, conceptually entitled EURASTiP, a European Asian Technology and Innovation Platform. The object of that, to create and reinforce the international cooperation on sustainable aquaculture that we're all looking for, to be composed of stakeholders from Europe and Southeast Asia, and focusing on actions that provide a symbiotic benefit to both regions. So it's not looking to exploit and enhance European opportunities in Southeast Asia or to enable Southeast Asia to penetrate the European market. It's to enable both of us to have a mutually beneficial relationship. There are specific objectives within the project. I'm going to spare you the agony of all the work packages and all the different deliverables we have to go through, but I could do that at leisure over lunch if any of you would like. But we have some broad specific objectives. Obviously to create national platforms, national technology and innovation platforms in Thailand, Vietnam and Bangladesh in the first instance. To develop networks needed for the promotion of industrial partnerships, using European and Asian networks to identify business opportunities for knowledge transfer, for areas of collaboration right through the value chain, from hatchery through to production, processing and distribution. To support and facilitate brokerage events and to promote the uptake of innovation by industry and the research communities. Another area we're looking at are common standards for both regions. We, regardless if you're working with cold water salmonids in Scotland or warm water species in Southeast Asia, we have common issues where we all know what they are: planning and zoning, spatial planning, animal health and welfare, food product safety, farming, governance, inspection and audit and certification. These issues are relevant to us all, and our project has a specific theme that is looking at that. Of most relevance to us today, perhaps, reinforcing professional skills in industry, research and the teaching arenas. So we're looking at aligning European and Asian training programs. We're looking at industrial apprenticeships, developing an international education and training network, and using the national platforms from the first objective I was talking about to hopefully identify relevant opportunities across Southeast Asia, Bangladesh and our other platforms. And then we have the usual administrative functions in the project about dissemination activities, impact and policy, and aspects that as project manager I need to busy myself with, but fortunately you don't. Our final objective, therefore, in diagrammatic form, we have an existing ETIP. We're hoping to identify at least 3 national, we're calling them ASTIPs, Asian Technology and Innovation Platforms. They will combine, and the third point of the triangle, an international technology platform between Europe and Asia. And the end of our project is to provide recommendations for establishing that, or to see what further work might need to be done to sell the methodology across the region, And so to do that, we need to address the scope, the membership, the operations, the governance, the structure, the budget, and whether or not this platform will be a self-sustaining viable option. There are some questions that we have to consider. We're old enough and wise enough to know that life doesn't necessarily go the way that a project proposal sounds as if it will go when you write it with your idealistic eyes. There is generally acceptance across the board that this new working methodology and delivery mechanism is viable from industry and academia, from government, policymakers and the NGO community, but that still doesn't mean that on the ground it will actually work. So we will have to question whether or not there will be buy-in from the stakeholders who need to buy into this. We have to look at what form the delivery vehicle will take. We're calling it a technology and innovation platform because that's what we call it in the EU, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we will call it. If you think of those three nations that we're piloting, Vietnam, Thailand, Bangladesh, very different countries, very different aquaculture sectors, very different governmental and regulatory regimes that they operate with. So what works in one country might not work in another, and we have to be flexible to that. We have to ask the question of intra-regional collaboration. I can tell you that within Europe it is no happy family. We have conflicts within the European arena on what the priorities in our own platform should be. We fully expect that situation to be the same in Southeast Asia. And that's before we get on to issues of international cooperation between our two regions. And I think we also have to accept that in economics, trade, and political policy making, aquaculture might be our meat and drink, but it isn't always to everybody. There are other factors that come in to influence policy making and political decisions that can relegate aquaculture into third place. So we need to bear that in mind as well. The reasons to engage in the EURASTiP program, well, obviously you're all here today, so it's preaching to the converted to one extent. But when you're referencing this project across your networks, as I'm confident that you will be, there are political and strategic and economic and altruistic reasons why in our increasingly troubled and broken world, we should all be striving towards greater international collaboration and cooperation. However, there are practical reasons, and as many of you are aware today, that's money, and for eligible participants, there are funded brokerage opportunities that can be provided through the lifetime of our support action, such as the work we're doing here today. So reference again throughout your networks and to your colleagues that you're through the Commission-funded EURASTiP program, you are able to take advantage of a funded international exchange opportunity like this, and continue to look out for future activity and to support it, because that's why we're in the room today. And I'll just leave you, you've got it all, I've got business cards with me. You're all going to come and talk to me at the coffee and the lunch break just to say hello, but those are my contact details. Please subscribe to our website for news updates. For those of you who tweet, you can follow us at EURASTiP, but not during the workshop, please, because there's work to do. Thank you for the opportunity for addressing you all, and thank you very much for the opportunity of allowing me to come to Indonesia. It's my first time in this country, and as a little Scots boy, my first time south of the equator. So I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, David. There's not really time for questions, but just to point out, so David is the project manager, but we have a few core partners here. So Patrick, Johan, Mieke, Sunny, and myself. So if you have any questions on the project, you can approach any of us. Okay. And then our next speaker, I would like to give the floor to Sandra. And she will talk to us about teaching philosophies. This one is
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sandra from University Malaysia Terengganu, Malaysia. And I'm here today to give a very short talk regarding my experience with innovative teaching. And I've been teaching for the past 5 years. And I would like to thank EURASTiP for having me here today. Let's go back to 10 or 20 years ago when we were students, and maybe 30 years for some of us. And I'm sure we have heard of our fellow friends during class, and we ourselves as well, complaining about whether the class was good or bad, and how did the lecturer do in a class. And we also, as a student, managed to recognize whether the lecturer themselves managed to give a good class or not. And as a student, I'm sure we knew that lecturers, or like us, we are good researchers, but only some are very good teachers. And the difference between a good class and a bad class is whether we enjoyed the class or not. And as a student, sometimes we also wonder that whether the lecturer played a vital role in teaching and learning process. As a fresh PhD graduate, we were not equipped with teacher training or teaching philosophies compared to teachers who actually go through the training. And here, mainly the responsibility of a teacher is obviously to teach the students, and the importance of education. And here I believe that in the sense of teaching and learning is not a choice, but it's our right to educate ourselves with knowledge and skills. And the main purpose of education here is to provide or to create students who can survive the real world when they go out for jobs. And it is also to create students as independent educators, independent learners, and critical thinkers. So in my teaching philosophy is strongly based on student engagement and participation, as well as two-way interaction between the teacher and the student. And in my teaching classes as well, I would like to inspire and empower the students to make sure they actually learn something in the class and they can apply that in their future, and to make sure that the subject is interesting. And I'm sure you can see in the slides here that this is a situation that we have in many of our classes, and it is very annoying for the teachers because we have variety of students in the class where among the common issues in teaching and learning, we would have the intelligent or active students where they dominate the class, and we would have silent students who are not paying attention or who do not understand. And we would also have the text-heavy students who's always on the phone, and they would prefer something hands-on and less lecturing and yapping from the lecturer. And you can see we also have some of the students who are actually sleeping in the class. And in this slide, we can see that we do teach them in the class, we do give them lecture, but are they learning anything from our classes? That's another question as well. And how do we know whether the teaching and learning process that we did in the class is actually effective or not? So it does make you wonder whether was my class effective today? Did they learn anything at all? And how to make the class interesting. And normally what we would do is we would ask the students to give us some feedback, or ask them to fill up a survey or poll, or we do apply some common assessment methods. So before we go deeper into the teaching philosophy that I apply in my class, let's visit the concept of teaching-centered learning versus student-centered learning. As you can see, this is a typical traditional learning environment where in a teacher-centered learning, you would have the students focused on the teacher, where the teacher talks and the student listens and they do not move at all. At the same time, the students work alone in this environment, and there is no collaboration between the students. And among the disadvantage of this learning environment is that there is no group work, there is no collaboration between the students, there is low level of communication skills, the class is boring, and the students are not allowed to express themselves or to ask for questions. And this is another typical teacher-centered learning where the teacher wants the student to be independent, innovative, and critical thinker, but under 100% instruction of the teacher. So when you compare teacher-centered learning to student-centered learning environment, in student-centered learning, the teacher is a facilitator. They act as a guider. There is no spoon feeding for the students, and the students are allowed to interact equally. There will be lots of group work, and the class would be noisy and busy. So ideally, we would think that student-centered learning is a good approach. But it has been stated it is better to have both teacher-centered learning and also student-centered learning in the class, where you could have half an hour of a lecture and then the other half an hour with, coupled with a lot of group activities. So therefore, this is the teaching philosophy that I chose in my class. This is a quote from Chinese philosopher Sun Quan. And the first quote is, "Tell me, I forget." And according to the human central nervous system, hearing and listening is not one of our strongest senses. And when you look at the second one, "Teach me and I may remember," seeing is one of the stronger senses. And obviously, as all of us experience, when you watch a movie, you will remember the storyline rather than actually just listening to the movie or story on the radio. And the last one, "Include me and involve me and I will learn." In here, we are using all of our senses by actively participating or involving in the teacher and learning environment. So in my teaching and learning philosophy, I do apply all of these three theories. The first one is experiential teaching, where we learn from our experiences. And the second one is a social constructive learning theory, is from Lev Vygotsky, and this theory is mainly about knowledge is constructed within a social context by collaborating with peers or fellow friends. And under the social constructive learning theory, I apply cooperative learning methods and values. So why did I choose this teaching philosophy is that I teach virology in an aquatic animal health class, and every semester we have about 100 to 120 students. And if it's a diploma class, the numbers would go up to 140 students per semester. And in this class, the students have to learn 30 different types of diseases within 14 weeks. So they find it to be very tough, boring, and they tend to misinterpret the different diseases, and they do score averagely in the class. So my main purpose is to make sure that the students enjoy learning, and I want them to engage in the teaching and learning activity, as well as to make sure that the subject is interesting for them. So here, in the terms of constructivism, it means that humans construct knowledge and meaning from their experiences, and in a constructive teaching class, it is based on belief that learning occurs when the learners are actively participating in the teaching and learning environment and not just passively receiving the information. So in this constructivism, you can see that the students can learn on their own. They can also learn by the guidance of the teacher or lecturer, and they also learn by collaborating with the peers. And in a constructive class, it is active, and they also build their knowledge based on their previous experience. And there are two main contributors to this theory. The first one is Piaget and Vygotsky. So in a social constructive theory, Vygotsky believed that in that education environment, the learning shifts, the focus shifts from teachers to the students, and there is no stages of development in terms of learning. But when you compare it with Piaget, Piaget believes that a student learns on their own, where they explore the environment to learn. And in this theory, there is stages from birth up to adulthood. So Piaget's believe that there is stages of learners, and the learners cannot reach that learning process unless they reach that certain particular stage of life. And in Piaget's developmental view, the learning process ends at adulthood. But when you compare it with Vygotsky, the learning process is throughout our life stages, from birth till death. And there is no stages and there is no end point to that learning environment. And if you can see the comic down here, Piaget believe that the role of the teacher is very limited and the class is more to exploratory oriented. And in Vygotsky, he does believe that the teacher do play a vital role and it is more socially interactive class. So in a constructive class, there are many things that we can do. We can make sure that the interaction happens through discussion, group work, or investigation, or by using forums and blogs. And here, as I mentioned earlier, the teacher acts as a facilitator, and also it's based on experiential learning. So students would have some previous knowledge or previous experience on the subject. As they receive the new information, they will adapt the new information and they will mix it with their previous experience and come with more knowledge. So when you compare a traditional classroom to a constructive classroom, the classroom of a constructive where the students' questions are valued, the students can ask questions, they can express themselves, and the main thing is that there is no right or wrong answers in the class. When you compare it traditional classes, you would have a scheme, which one is the correct answer. If you go out of the box, then it is not a right answer. And mainly group works are done in a constructive classroom. So as I explained, although in a constructive classroom, it's a teacherless room, but it doesn't mean that the teacher is just sitting there and sipping their coffee and tea. It is very important that the teacher do play a vital role. They have to engage with the students, and there should be two-way interaction between the teacher and the student. So in my classroom, cooperative learning methods and values comes under the social constructive learning theory. So it means that students of mixed level of abilities are grouped into small groups, and the success of the group is, the success of the learning environment is based on the group and not by individual people. And here, I also instill lifelong learning where the students voluntarily will search for knowledge for the classes, as well as blended learning where the delivery or content of the classes is by online media. So in order to instill cooperative learning, what I do is that usually I would ask the students to answer pre-class survey, and then they are grouped based on their different academic background, their social background, gender, and as well as CGPA or their marks from previous semesters. So in this social constructive classroom, mainly the teaching occurs among the students through cooperative or collaborative work, mainly group work. And these four elements have to be implemented based on this learning theory. First of all, there should be a face-to-face interaction between the students themselves in the group. They have to discuss and explain among themselves. And there is a positive interdependence where the whole group, they have to feel that they are in it together as a whole group and not as an individual person. And every individual is accountable for their responsibility in the group. They would have a responsibility to conduct, and they're accountable for that. And at last, the group is allowed to do a processing or analyzing in the group whether they have actually achieved the group work, whether they have achieved the collaborative work or not, and how well did they learn in the group. So under this learning theory and cooperative learning method, these are some of the methods which are done in the class. We have a board game, and they play the board game in a group. We have many group works, and then we also, in the class, I asked them to do some mind maps, and they have parallel presentation, and they are also allowed to assess among themselves, as well as problem-based learning approaches. A social constructive approach is mainly on problem solving in the class, and we also have the students to role play and where they present by video or other presentation. So this is my last slide, so I would like to thank the EURASTiP travel grant as well as Marike for communicating with me, and University Malaysia, and these are my students in my class, and I think they look very happy and comfortable in the class. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. There is time for 1 or 2 questions for Sandra. So if you have a question, this is your chance.
How do you do the assessment? I mean, is it because the traditional ways is like final exam or middle exam? Do you have any other assessment methods?
I do have like quizzes based on video quizzes, and then we do have assessment because it's group work, so the other groups will assess that one group, so it's a group assessment, and mainly I would assess when they are role playing or video presentation, not only based on like you said tests or final exams, but it's also assessment based on their activity actually.
One more question.
Thank you for your good presentation. I just have one question. When your students is doing into group work, how do you put your monitoring on them that whether any of these students, they are not participating or they are just following the group and getting the group effort, but basically he don't contribute anything, but the team members, they just never mind, as long as we finish the work, we don't need to involve him. And how are you going to encounter this kind of problem? Thank you.
One thing that I do in my class, I move around a lot from one group to the other group. I'm just running up and down and seeing whether they're doing their work or anyone is contributing or not. If they are not contributing, then I'll ask why you're not doing anything. I'll just urge them. The other way that we can do is to ask the group members to assess themselves. Is this person working or not? And I have students who are coming up to me, this student didn't come. And sometimes they say they involved in the presentation, making the video and slides, but they didn't come on the day to present. So one thing that we can have a rubric for their, so that they can evaluate their friends, whether they have contributed or not. That's one way to make sure. But the other thing is that I just run around and make sure everyone participate.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. According to the program, there is now an icebreaker session. It's called One Word. But the exercise this morning actually basically covered this, and we are running a little bit late, and I think it is time for coffee and tea. So the coffee and tea is ready. If you want to know about this icebreaker session, just maybe you want to use it in your classes or something, you can just ask me and I can explain it to you. Yeah. Enjoy coffee and tea. And be back here at 11. Coffee and tea is in the back of the room. Okay. Yeah, how long is it?